New York's mayor just launched his
When I ran for
wealth
mayor,
tax.
I said I was going to tax the rich. Well, today, we're taxing the rich. I'm thrilled to announce we've secured a pied-à-terre tax, the first in New York's history.
Wow.
This is an annual fee on luxury properties worth more than $5 million, whose owners do not live full-time in the city. Like for this penthouse, which hedge fund CEO Ken Griffin bought for $238 million. This pied-à-terre tax is specifically designed for the richest of the rich, those who store their wealth in New York City real estate, but who don't actually live here. But even so,
let's punish them and get them to park their wealth somewhere else.
they're able to reap the huge financial rewards of owning property in, dare I say, the greatest city in the world. And most of the time, these units are sitting empty, since again, they don't actually live here. This is a fundamentally unfair system that hurts working
But they paid for
now,
it.
It's coming to
How
an
does
end.
it hurt
This
someone
tax
else?
will raise at least $500 million directly for the city.
Okay.
It'll help fund things like free childcare, cleaner streets, safer neighborhoods.
Free daycares by taxing the rich, because we're already bankrupt and everyone knows it.
Governor Kathy Hochul shifted positions today, throwing her support behind a new proposal to tax the ultra-wealthy.
This
There
would
it
target
is.
people who own multiple homes in the state and who leave those high-end properties empty most of the time. It's called a pied-à-terre tax. News 4's Andrew Siff explains.
So what if they leave them empty?
Chopper
They were allowed to
Ford
buy
up
them, and now
above
you're
a
going to punish
penthouse
them?
apartment that sold a few years back for more than $200 million.
That's a sick
the owner,
place, man.
According to elected officials,
Guy's filthy
is hardly
rich.
ever here.
I
part
believe
of our
it.
skyline, but those people are not part of our city.
So today, Governor Kathy Hochul proposed a new way to get money from homeowners who don't live here.
I am proposing a common sense surcharge on high-value second homes in New York City.
She called it
Proposing.
a surcharge, but Mayor Mamdani called it a tax.
He's right.
This is a tax
He's
on
being
properties
honest.
worth more than $5 million that are owned by people who do not reside in New York City.
Both leaders supporting the new
Okay, this is my problem with this whole thing. The argument is that this hurts housing costs for average New Yorkers. Look on the screen here. How many average New Yorkers are going to fit inside that place? Are they going to, turn it into a bunch of studio and one-bedroom apartments that cost $1,000 a month? That was never going to happen here. And you have an entire industry that exists in New York for both luxury homes and affordable private homes. And New York punishes people that are involved in each market. The landlords that have the affordable homes, they're punished because they can't build enough of them. And here we have a luxury home and there's only one allowed to be built because of where it's situated. And now this person's gonna get punished too. All we're doing here is punishing success, yet we don't think it's gonna run away.
And so for all of the discussion of the imagined exodus that would take place were we to tax the wealthiest New Yorkers by the appropriate amount. I say imagined because before I was a mayor, I was a state legislator, and I was part of an effort to increase taxes on millionaires at that time. We were told the same thing then. And what we find now is that we have more millionaires today than we did at that time, even after having passed that time.
Oh, so according to the new socialist mayor, the more you tax the millionaires, the more of them magically appear somehow.
13,000 mainly high-rise condos, each worth more than $5 million, and owned by people who live outside the city full-time. Often these are investment properties or rarely used second homes, no one's primary residence. The governor has resisted until now Mayor Zohran Mamdani's call to increase taxes on the income of millionaires and corporations, citing concerns that the wealthy tax base would flee New York. So we asked if this now opens the door to other taxes in the state's overdue budget.
Of course it does. 100% it does. This is how they all start. We're going to tax the richest of the rich only for right now, and then that might change in the future.
Will there be any additional taxes when we finally do see a state budget sooner than later?
As I've said, I'm clearly not entertaining income taxes or corporate taxes.
Governor, I hear you leaving the door open for anything else that's not a corporort tax and not an income tax.
I'm simply saying I'm not negotiating the budget in front of anybody on this one.
Speaking.
Oh, these pesky news outlets.
Those who benefit from the city without living in a full-time capacity should contribute to the costs that it takes to run the city.
Governor Kathy Hochul's pied-à-terre tax will target the city's...
The idea that, they don't pay anything to run the city? They pay nothing? It's not just billionaires, by the way. Everyday people here are paying so much to run the city, and it doesn't run.
On a tax day panel in front of a banner that said, "Tax the Rich," Mayor Mamdani cheered the pied-à-terre tax and talked about his continued push for taxes on the wealthy.
Yeah.
What we are talking about is a recognition of the inequality that has permeated politics through the 5 boroughs of our city, through our country, through the world.
Still, the tax on vacation and investment homes is
only
only expected to raise $500 million against at least a $5 billion city budget
so
deficit.
it doesn't do anything.
Governor Kathy Hochul says she'll continue to do what she can to help the city, but at the end of the day,
It is the responsibility of the mayor and the city council to find more savings.
But they're not doing
As
that.
for how this is playing politically, the presumptive Republican nominee gunning for Governor Hochul's job this November, that would be Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman. He's saying the governor is now breaking her promise of no new taxes this election year.
Technically, yeah.
And he says this will open the door for other taxes, perhaps an inheritance tax in the state budget.
100%.
That is when and if we ever do see a state budget.
Right, because you know what? These new taxes, they're already not enough for all the free stuff. And what that means is we're just going to need more of them.
And so for all of that conversation about this imagined exodus, we have to reckon with the very real exodus that we are seeing in the city. An exodus of working class people.
Right.
An exodus of those who cannot afford to live
Because
here.
they're getting hit too.
And for many who work here, who now find their residence in Jersey City or in Connecticut or in Pennsylvania, anywhere else where their dollar can go a little bit further.
Why is
and
that?
We've seen just in a snapshot from 2000 to 2020, the city lost 200,000 of its black residents. That is the cost of inaction.
Right. But the problem is, as we've seen, the proposals to fix this situation are just new taxes on the very people the mayor says are leaving because it's unaffordable here. And why is it that a dollar goes further in another state? Why aren't we answering that question? Well, New York City has its own tax. So if you live in New York City, you pay federal income tax, you pay state tax, and then you pay city tax. So there's a whole tax that doesn't even exist here, plus the state tax is already higher here than it is in New Jersey. So leaving means your dollar goes a lot further and the rents aren't $5,000 a pop.
Both leaders supporting the new pied-à-terre tax. That's the French term for foot on the ground that typically means a place you own but don't live.
Yeah, it's not a new concept.
13,000 homes in New York City.
This is how it starts.
Valued at $5 million and above. Apartments that are not owner-occupied.
Yeah, that'll all change.
But Hochul's Republican opponent in this year's governor's race said the new tax will backfire.
They're going to take their money someplace else.
Right.
And that means some carpenter's not going to get a job. Some plumber's not going to get a job. The restaurants in the neighborhood are going to lose business.
Hochul says the extra revenue is needed to help the city close a $5 billion budget gap.
Which they refuse to stop spending money in, right? So you got this massive budget with a massive gap. You can either tax your residents to fill that hole, or you can just spend less money on stuff that doesn't matter, on free services for folks that in some cases are in America without permission. Like, why are we doing that? You could save a lot of money if you just said, hey, New York City services are only for people that are in America legally. Right there, you'd probably save $5 billion, but we don't want to do that. We don't even want to think about that. And then there's all the other stuff we waste money on, all the other initiatives and things that go nowhere, like the free grocery stores that we're going to pay $30 million for a free grocery store. One of them is going to cost $30 million, let alone the other 4 that haven't even been imagined yet.
And some New Yorkers seem to embrace the idea of out-of-town owners paying more.
I think they should pay taxes to the city of New
They
York.
do.
They are using our services.
They do.
Police department, fire, and walking on our sidewalks. Why shouldn't they pay?
Okay, so they already pay. It's not like they're paying nothing right now. These people are already getting hit harder than anybody else. And you got to remember, it starts at the top and then it trickles down to the rest of us. That's why we have an income tax in this country that now affects everybody. At first, it was only supposed to affect the very rich. And now we all pay it, don't we?
Tax day, baby. Pay your bill because millions on welfare depend on it. We got fraud to pay for, money going to other countries that give us absolutely nothing in return. Oh, and don't forget the $40 million a week that we're still giving to the Taliban as of today.
Yeah.
But the good news is it's less bad this year than it was over the last 4 years.
Unless you live in New York.
Thanks to promises made, promises kept, through the working families tax cuts, the president has delivered the record refunds to the American people.
Yeah, it's better.
The average refund this filing season is over $3,400.
Yeah.
Sounds great. And yes, Trump's big, beautiful bill stole less money from us in taxes because, again, tax changes is theft. But don't ever celebrate a tax refund, folks. I would rather under-withhold all year and pay at the end of the year, because if you get a tax refund, it's because you gave the government an interest-free loan all year. And this is probably the first time I've ever heard the government say this or understand it, that you and I know how to spend our money better than the government.
Right.
President Trump and Republicans in Congress have always believed that the American people know how to spend their money better than the government does.
Thank you, Caroline.
New concept.
The best part about this is the government steals more money from you by forcing you to do the work for them. And the average American actually spends 13 hours and almost $300 to file their taxes. I mean, think about what a...
And listen, this is federal taxes that he's talking about, yes. But in New York and New York City, the fact that you've got highest taxes in the entire country certainly doesn't help people live affordably. And the idea that we're going to come in with a whole bunch of affordability initiatives and increase the one thing that hurts all of us, and it's not just on the millionaires. We've tried raising the property taxes. Residents have been upset about that. Every single thing being done in New York to make it more affordable is going to do the exact opposite. And look, living costs here are about to go way up. Watch.
Are you ready to strike? Are you ready to strike?
It's crazy.
Wednesday, thousands of the city's doorpersons, porters, supers, and handy persons rallied along Park Avenue from 79th Street to several blocks north. They voted for the option to strike come the morning of April 21st if a new contract isn't agreed upon by the time the current one expires April 20th.
We've sat at the table 4 times, and we have 5 days until this expiration. We do not have one single agreement on anything of contention. They've refused to move on even the most essential parts of this contract.
Let us demonstrate what it is when working people come together and fight for what it is that they deserve.
By paying higher taxes so that everyone can have access to free things handed out by the government. You see, that's the whole problem here. That's why we're going broke, and we don't want to admit it. That's why every single tax proposal that we've ever gotten has started out as, it's just for the rich people, which is what the mayor ran on, and then, property owners are gonna have to fill in the blanks if he doesn't get the wealth tax, which he still didn't get, by the way. Yes, this is a wealth tax on the second homes of wealthy people, but it's not what the mayor really wants.
More than 34,000 members of the Service Employees International Union Local 32BJ say their wages, healthcare costs, and retirement benefits need to reflect the rising rates of inflation. The president of the Realty Advisory Board on Labor Relations declined an interview, but said in a statement the real estate industry is facing mounting pressures, including the likelihood of 0% rent increases on stabilized units for years to come.
That's the problem. So the mayor wants to freeze rents in the city, and this is what they're talking about, 0% increases. So no more rent increases, yet everybody that's unionized and works at these buildings wants the frozen rent, and they want raises to go along with it. This is like the most ludicrous situation I've ever seen. There's just no money for this kind of thing. You have to let the rents go up if you want to give raises to the people that work at the buildings, because those rent stabilized units, they're already underwater. You've already got buildings that are so bad they can't make any money, and they're going bankrupt because they have most of their units with a government regulation that stops them from making money. Meanwhile, if that landlord owns another building, he's got to raise the rents over there to get the money to pay for over here. You see, the whole system is screwed up, and it's the government that's in the way.
You know, but there's 2 things in our city. 2% of the people, we said that before, pay 48% of the taxes in New York City, New York State. And if those people reach the oh crap level or whatever, that's what the president says, oh crap, so I can say that. What happens? They're going to keep the exodus will keep going on.
There is an exodus.
And we don't want the exodus to go on.
Wait a second. Mamdani says that this threat of rich people leaving, that is imagined.
Yes, it's fake.
That's his word. He's basically saying they're not going to leave.
Well, you want to know something? Maybe the billionaires won't leave.
Right.
But the rich people will leave. That is the difference. The middle class that makes more than $500,000 a year, and there's a lot of them.
Yep.
And if the exodus continues, you know who gets penalized? New York City, New York State has 500,000 employees. If they leave, guess what? The 500,000 employees will have a problem. They'll start laying them off, and that's who gets penalized. And the pensions, The pensions will have a
This
problem.
could bankrupt the city.
And we want New York. There's two things that are not negotiable. The quality of life in New York. We want to be safe. We want to walk around safe.
But we do.
And we don't want to be any particular class should not be targeted.
Right.
Why are you targeting it?
Right. Why is somebody being punished for being in New York? Like, nobody should be punished for being in New York. The idea that if somebody's in New York and they do well, they should be punished is a stupid idea. Just like the idea that if somebody's in New York and they're not doing well, that nobody should take care of them. That's a stupid idea too. Why are we full of stupid ideas here?
But they've got the money. The rich are the class that's got the money, and the rest, these socialists want it. They're going to take it.
Well,
and
guess what?
I think it's wrong.
Oh.
They might end up blowing up. And that's what the problem is.
One cannot hope. Now, Mamdani, he made a surprising admission about the cost of what he sells in city-owned grocery stores. Watch this.
When it comes to the products that we will be selling at these city-run grocery stores, there will be an essential basket of goods that will be guaranteed at a cheaper price. And please. Cheaper than what they're being sold at currently. I can't give you an exact example of the cost of a cucumber in our
doesn't know the cost of a
basket,
cucumber, but he wants to raise taxes on everybody because they don't pay enough. And here's the crazy thing. This idea that, oh, we're just going after the rich. I mean, the mayor has brought up $23 billion worth of new taxes in his first week on the job, which is absolutely crazy. This just came out. And this is after threatening the 10% property tax, which would hit the middle class. Now look, the meat of his tax increases are calls to increase the city's tax rate, which is something most cities don't even have. They don't even have their own income tax, but we have ours. And this is actually supposed to be million, not billion. And then this corporate tax rate. So corporations that employ people who make less than $1 million, corporations employing people who aren't millionaires, they're gonna have to pay more money. What does that do? Where's that money gonna come from? It's gonna come from the employees. It's gonna increase unaffordability as it seeks to solve unaffordability. Now, the governor said that she opposes this, and now some people, even the local news stations here, they're rightfully calling this out. They're doing their job. They're doing journalism. They're saying that, hey, this is a flip-flop. But look, if you're the governor, you see people like this at every single one of your rallies screaming at you to come out and do something and do what Mamdani wants. But then when she does, they hit her again. Watch this. Listen to this.
Just conceded on a pied-à-terre tax, a tax on luxury second homes in New York City, like the ones behind me in 432 Park Avenue, where $25 million apartments sit empty. Not that long ago, she said she would never tax the rich. This shows that our movement has power. We can win more, and we have to, because millions of lives hang in the balance. Our city is facing a budget crisis to the tune of billions of dollars, and the pied-à-terre tax accounts for less than 1/10 of our city's budget deficit.
Right. It's not enough. See, this is the local New York City Democrat socialists. They're saying the government or the governor conceded, and this is breaking through. So they're pushing for more taxes, and this is Zoran Mamdani's political affiliation. He was very honest about that. He didn't try to hide it, but you got to understand, this is who's running New York right now. The governor, it looks like, isn't running New York, even though she's in charge, because this is who the voter base is. And if she wants to win re-election, how does she do that if these people are angry? And I realize that a person who's got a penthouse worth $230 million can probably afford to pay extra money, but the point is they're gonna get sick of affording everybody else's bills and all the free stuff the city wants, and they're gonna take their money somewhere else. And you've got an entire real estate industry in this city that is built around these luxury properties and these penthouses where you can only have one at the very tippity top of a building anyways, and what's gonna happen when those people leave? And when there aren't as many buyers for those properties, the values of those are gonna tank. These buildings are gonna be worth less. This has the potential to wipe out wealth in more ways than anybody is comfortable talking about. What do you think about that? I will see you in the next video.